I had thought that I had covered all the iCraft kits, but I've discovered one in my collection that I had not yet done. So I'm going to do this one right now. So for the first part, we're going to look at how to assemble the iCraft Photobox scrapbook. And this is what it looks like when it's finished. It says the set contains 5 pieces each of black and craft cardstock, and it can accommodate 15 photos. And on the back we have a diagram showing us the measurements of each piece and some photos of what it looks like or could look like when you are finished. So essentially there's a little mini album on the one inside cover, and there is a photo box on the back side of the cover. Kind of an interesting design. So what's in our kit? Well, it does say that we get 2, one in black, one in craft, and as always I think that's a very good value for $10.99 Canadian. That's what I paid for this at my scrapbook store. And this is the black one. I'm going to be working with the craft one, and it does come, this particular kit, with instructions. So what I like to do with the instructions when they do come with a kit, they usually have a picture of all the pieces and they label them, and I like to get out the pieces and label them as well. I have already done that in advance of the video. So we have base 1, which is this piece right here. Then we have cover 2, and that piece is right here. And frame 3, that's this big piece right here. Just try to get rid of some of that shadow. And then there's a page 4 and a page 5, and that's these 2 pieces here. Now these look very much like the cover too, but there is one thing that makes this one different from these, and that is an extra score line. So essentially this is the cover of the mini album, and you can see that when you fold along the score lines you get this little spine, whereas on the pages it's just a single fold. So that's easy enough to figure out. So according to, just move these out of our way, according to the next step, it says, using frame 3, which is this piece, fold each scored line towards the center to form a box. So I have already done that. I have folded each of the score lines, and I did use a bone folder to make sure they were nice and crisp. And then essentially what you're going to do, and it shows it down here in step 2, says position each corner as shown and glue them together to form a neat corner. The gluing part I'm not sure about yet, but what I did do, I did a little bit of this off camera, and I determined where some of my 2-sided tape could go. This could be glue. So essentially, let's just take the protective paper off each of these. And so this gets folded down and placed right along the side. And I will do a similar thing. So you see I'm just following the score lines. It just sort of folds in on itself, and I've got the tape on the bottom section, and it just lays down, and I'm using the bone folder to put that down. So then each of these just fold upon themselves as well. So you get this little rectangle, you see, and you tuck each one under these corners. Now I just realized something I probably shouldn't do, and that was to tape those pieces down. Is that going to give me a problem? Actually, it doesn't give me a problem. So those tuck into there, and the same with this one. It's just folding in on itself. And then you got to do a little bit of manipulation to tuck it under each of those corners. Now they talked about gluing these corners down, and I'm thinking right now that they will get stuck down when I add some decorative paper all around this, but right now that seems to hold together pretty nicely. So, and they show it here. Here all 4 corners have been joined. Okay, flip it over. Now they're doing the folding of the cover page and the pages. So these are the pages, and I have already done my folding of these along the score line and just giving them a good varnishing with the bone folder. And this one I've already folded to and already mentioned this is the spine. So says adhere all pages as shown to the page which has a 1/4 inch margin. So what I determined from that is that essentially this is our cover page, and these go on the inside. Now here's the tricky part. How do I adhere these? Because they don't have a little flap, and they're showing that you just put a little bead of glue. You can see here on the instructions, they're showing they've put a little bead of glue right along the spine of this one. So I guess one gets attached there, and the other one will get attached on the other side. So when this is folded, alright, this is going to be a little trickier, because I don't think I can use my double-sided tape for this. So I'm going to get out my trusty Gorilla Glue, and I'm just going to, right along this spine piece, I'm just going to run a line of the Gorilla Glue. And then take each page and just carefully center it, hold it for a second or two, and hopefully the Gorilla Glue will take hold. Don't really like how this is joining. Gorilla Glue usually sets up pretty fast, but it's not really holding. Now I see a potential here to run a little strip of tape. Just let that sit for a second. And I think I'm just going to pause the video for a minute as this sets up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I let the Gorilla Glue set up, but I wasn't very happy with how secure it was holding the pages. So what I did do is I went inside and I just put a piece of tape down the spine of each join. So it seems to be holding okay that way. So this is one flaw. And I just noticed that part of this has been stuck now. Oops. Glad there's two of them here, because I just sort of ripped that one a little bit. Yeah, you can see that right here. But I'll be able to cover that up with decorative paper. So it is holding now, but I don't like the way that that assembles. I think it would have been better if there had been a little bit of a spine on each of these pages as well, and I think that would give you something to glue it with. So, but you can make it work. Okay, so I've got the frame and I've got the little booklet, and now according to this in step 6 it says paste the box and the pages on the base as shown. So the base does have a spine, as you can see, which is created when you just score or fold the score lines. And they're putting this on this side. I don't think it matters which side you put it on, because they're showing this gluing down so it opens up this way. But that means when you open this up, you'll probably be opening it up. I suppose it doesn't matter, but you know, I think I'd rather have this on this side, and I think I'd have the little booklet on this side. So all you do is just glue them down. Now you can see my corners are coming up here. I should have put maybe a little tape down under here. Actually, maybe I could put a little Gorilla Glue. But I don't think I'll bother, because I think it'll hold down once I get some decorative paper along the frame side. So let's just glue this down. Now I'm using this one as the prototype because I can see right now the problem I'm going to have with putting decorative papers on it. I have this space in behind that needs to be covered up, and then the frame and in here as well. But I do have a second one in black, so I'll use this one just to show how to assemble it, but I will actually put the black one together with my decorative papers on it so that, you know, I don't have to cut little bitty pieces around here. I'll just put a piece down, bang, it covers it, etc. But for now, let's just finish gluing this up. Get out my trusty Gorilla Glue again. And I don't think I need a lot. And then center it. And I'm just eyeballing here. Trying to keep it as straight as possible. Just hold that down for a few seconds so it sets up. Again, you can use whatever glue you happen to have. And I'm going to do the same thing with this little booklet. Now I do notice that my pages are not completely straight, so I may have to do a little bit of fudging around with the folding on this. And again, I'll just use the Gorilla Glue. And eyeball it. And just hold it down for a minute or two. Well, a second or two. And there we have it. And that's not stuck yet. I do find sometimes on the craft cardstock in these kits, it seems to absorb the glue very quickly. Too quick for it to really glue down. But I'm not going to worry too much about that right at the moment. It will stick. It just takes a little bit longer. You might want to put something heavy on top of this as well, just to keep it down while it dries. And that's how it works. Simple as that. Kind of a neat little thing. So, in the next segment, I'm going to work on the decorative papers, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get to that. Okay, so the next stage is to put some background papers on this, and I already have done that. But before I show you what it looks like inside, I'll just show you the paper pad I used. It's a Graphic 45. I've had it for quite a while. It's called Times Nouveau. So it's got sort of a fashion nouveau style to it, that 1920s sort of look. And I'm using that for my background papers, and also be using some of the embellishments that come in that paper pad as well to decorate this in the next segment. So I've already gone ahead and put down the papers, as I said. Reason being is this is a fairly simple way to do it. I used my Cricut to cut out my pages, but you could use your paper cutter. That's not a problem. And the dimensions for cutting each of these out are very easy. I did leave about a 1/4 inch around each of the edges just to give a bit of a border, and you'll notice that I've switched over to the black album because I found putting the background papers on this particular album before you assemble it makes it a little bit easier. So I have my cover in the back. I used the same paper on both sides. The small spine here, so I just used some washi tape as well. And inside we have the frame. And now the frame, it's a little tricky to get it to stick together. The corners do have a tendency to open up. So I found that if I put a little bit of a border of some of that paper around the edges of that does secure it. And I have my background paper in here, all from the same pad. And I like to use the same pad because all the papers are coordinated and I don't have to worry about selecting them on my own. They're all there. The little booklet is right here. Now I had a little problem, and I'm still having a little problem, as I can see here. With this little booklet, they did not leave a big enough gutter on the cover part in order to glue down the edges of these pages. In fact, the pages themselves should have had a gutter as well, I think. If I was to redo this album, I would actually make some score lines on the inside of each of these pages, so I would have a gutter, and that would give me something to glue into the cover. What I'm using in the meantime is some washi tape here. I tried glue, didn't seem to hold very well, so I'm using some washi tape to hold the pages together. It's not the best solution, I don't think, because you can see here I've got things that are a little uneven, but I think once I get some other embellishments in here, that'll disappear. So that's all there is to this. I put another piece of washi tape down along the spine as well. I just found using washi tape is easier than trying to cut thinner pieces of paper like I did here. Originally I did put washi tape all the way around this, and I didn't like the look of it, and the washi tape I was using was not sticking very well, which is a common problem with washi tape. I have found some washi tape sticks very, very well. Other pieces of washi tape or other types of washi tape do not. If you have that happen to you, you can glue them down as well, but I think that kind of defeats the purpose of using washi tape, doesn't it? If you have to add more adhesive to it. So one other thing that you might be interested in knowing is that this little booklet fits inside of here when you close it. So when you put this on this page, you want to line it up so it'll drop down into this hole. And I just eyeballed it and it seemed to work, but you could measure it out. So I've got it all decorated. I'm not sure what I'm going to use for an enclosure yet. It may be another ribbon. I tend to like ribbons. Of course, I just realized I already put on the backing piece, but I can put another piece on top of it. I like to put the ribbon underneath the backing papers because it makes them more secure and hide your glue. But I can still do that with just another smaller piece. Use this as a border and over top of the ribbon, and I think that's exactly what I will do. And so in the next segment I'll come back and show you how I am doing the final embellishment of this Photobox scrapbook album. Okay, so I've done my final embellishing, and when I first started this album, I had other ideas of what I was going to do with it. I was basically going to keep to the theme of the paper pack I used for the backgrounds. But then I got thinking, well, since this is supposed to be a photo box album, may I stick some pictures in it? So that's what I've done. So this is to show you what you might be able to do with this particular iCraft kit. Now, I did use a ribbon for my enclosure because I didn't want this flopping open, and really to put this on it was very easy. I just glued the ribbon onto the back, and to give it extra reinforcement I glued a picture over top of it. Now if you look at this picture, I made a slight mistake here. I meant this picture to go on the front cover because the pictures that are inside this were ones that were taken about a year ago when I was in Melbourne, Australia. And this particular sign said Melbourne on it, and I thought that might make a nice cover. But in my process of doing this, I got my pictures mixed up and I ended up putting this on the back. But nevertheless, this was a happy accident, because I'm going to show you why. So we undo the ribbon, and if you look at my cover very closely, it's actually a collage of several pictures that I had taken in Melbourne. Now, what I did with these, and this was purely just spur of the moment thinking, each of my pictures when I printed them out had a white border. But to create this collage, I just cut the 4 pictures up at angles, but I left the borders around 2 sides of them, and I matched the borders up. So it looks like a continuous picture, but it's not. It's actually made up of 4 pieces. And there was a bare area in the center, so I just took another picture and cut it down and stuck it over that barrier. So I got sort of a collage without having to use any fancy software on my computer to create this, just a pair of scissors and some glue. And it took only minutes to make it, really. I added a couple of butterflies because I have some pictures of the wildlife in around Melbourne, and I just thought they kind of went with the theme. Plus, I like butterflies. I stick them on everything. I had a long time ago, well, when I came back from my trip to Australia a year or so ago, I had pre-cut out some different little name things for each place I was visiting, and I had one for Melbourne. Now I wish this had been in a slightly different color because I don't think the black shows up that well, but it works on here. So inside you can see the first thing that pops out is this framed picture of a kangaroo. I love kangaroos. And I just dropped that into the center of this. I added some Tim Holtz chip words around this, and I had a few more butterflies in my stash and some little flowers, and just put those on to spruce this up. Now I didn't want to put too many 3D embellishments on the frame because when you close it, it was going to make the frame or the album be partially open. I didn't want that. On this side, here's the little mini album. And I just went through some of my pictures of Melbourne, cut them down so that they would fit in this little album. I rounded the corners to match the album corners, and that's all there was to it. So you can see, you can get quite a few little photos in this little album that's in here. And I just added some more of Tim Holtz's little words, the ones that are sticky, and just put them across, sort of words that come to mind when I think of this area of Australia. And that's all I did to it. But you can see that there's a lot of possibilities here. Now, this little album would probably make a really neat little brag book for Grandma with pictures of the grandkids in it, or as I did here, a little mini travel album. There's lots of things you could do with this, and it doesn't take long to make it, as you've seen, and decorate it whatever you wish. So that's another iCraft kit, the Photobox album, and I hope you enjoyed this video process.